Welcome to ThinkTech Tech Talks on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your host, Jay Fidell. Today we'll talk about a book, My Conversations with AI, 100 Questions. Tadia Rice, a certified information security specialist, committed to AI and AI awareness, brings clarity for AI to all ages. So our guest for the show, happily, is Tadia Rice of the Rice Consulting Group. Welcome to the show, Tadia.
Mahalo, Jay. Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to talk with you.
Well, we see and hear about AI from every direction all around the world in the media, in all the consumer tech products we look at. And we get the impression it's really important. It's changing the world. And every day it will increasingly change the world. So we have to know and understand what it is to deal with it. We have to read up on it. We have to read books, including your book, which is very important. So let's talk about your book. What's in your book? Why did you write your book? What audience do you expect will take a look at your book, and how will it help?
I hope that everybody will take a look at the book because it's really written for everybody. It is a book that is non-tech in many ways. It's a comprehensive exploration of artificial intelligence, of AI, the word that has permeated our society, for those who have a deep sense of curiosity. I have been a curious individual all my life, and that's what led me to go down the rabbit hole of artificial intelligence. Once I learned how the internet worked, which bothered me for many years, and I did it by going back to school. And that's when I became an information security individual. Before that, I really hadn't thought about things. My career was going in other directions. But I then fell into the fascinating rabbit hole of the fascinating subject, territory, field of AI. I didn't know at the time that it was going to explode on me. And it's been a wonderful explosion. And given that I also am involved with ethics, I really looked at it at first from an ethics perspective. But then the more I thought about it, I said, I have a lot of questions for AI. So I took about 8 platforms and I started asking questions. It was not yet a book. It became a book. So now that I have done that and it's complete, I wanted, well, actually, one of my friends told me I've become a renegade warrior for AI literacy for the masses, for the public. And that's true. That is true. I think everyone needs to know. I don't care if you're 12 or if you're 112. You need to know about AI because you're using it whether you know it or not. It's good, bad, and ugly. And there's benefits. And what you want to do is learn how to use AI positively for your benefit and not fall into having it used negatively against you. So you have to know what it is. So AI literacy is what I would say. It's accessible. It's fact-driven. It's covers 114 different chapters on 100 different subjects, from tech to religion, to philosophy, to everything that's ever been asked throughout time. So that's what the book is about. I advocate in that book for, as I said, for against biases in AI, which does exist, for ethics in AI, which we need desperately on a global level, and how society is going to adapt to the influence of AI, because it's going to affect everyone in the workplace, in education, as a student, as a homemaker. It doesn't matter where you are, as an elder. If you're using a cell phone, AI will affect you. If you're living in a cave, then good luck, it won't touch you.
Wow, that's a mouthful. It's a thought process full, and I have so many questions I would like to ask you. So AI, some people are really afraid of AI, and probably with good cause. For example, in 60 Minutes, just this past weekend, there was a story of this guy who is young. He's like 30 years old, and he has this multi-billion-dollar factory, which is manufacturing weapons using AI, including very sophisticated automated drones and all kinds of fighter planes, and submarines and the like. All of this automated, all of this using AI, and they're all lethal. They're all killers. You say to yourself, gee whiz, this is going to change war. And I believe he is, developing useful for the military weapons that will be lethal and develop AI. So how afraid should we be of that? Because it's going to change conflict.
I saw that same 60 Minutes. I was surprised. First of all, I liked how he looked. I said, how is this guy in AI and how did he make billions already? And what is he really doing? Well, I came to like him because fundamentally he was saying he's not for war, but it's a reality we have to face. There are conflicts and we no longer will have hand to hand combat. The days of that kind of warfare are over. So, how does technology now, which is not brand new in war, but is now going to be the way war will be waged. How can technology help us? And he invented these remarkable weapons um, that will save lives if indeed it comes to that. It will also kill. And that's the reality of war. You live, you die. You choose your side. You're either a soldier or a civilian. Now, what I liked about what he was doing is that he's doing it for the benefit of humanity. He was very realistic about that. And so, should we be afraid of it? No, and maybe. If we're informed, if we understand it, if we know how it works and we know how to use it for our benefit, then no, you don't need to be afraid of it. If it goes down a dark alley like the web did, like internet did, like magazines have, like every media that's ever been invented, then of course it can be misused. And that is exactly where ethics comes in. And that's where governments around the world all have to come together to have a uniform program that monitors, that makes sure that ethics are involved in corporate decision makings about the use of AI, that there is complete transparency and full accountability to the public. Without that, then you're open to a Pandora's box of problems that could occur. So, yes, I like AI. Yes, I use AI. Most people do now, but I've learned how to use it. And I want people, especially our children and our young who are using AI, to use it the right way, to understand what the wrong way is so they don't go down that alley.
So, gee, there's just so many questions that come out of that. But let me ask you this, also related to current events. So there was an article about Trump's trip to the Middle East and how during that trip he somehow brokered a deal between NVIDIA and United Arab Emirates, where United Arab Emirates was going to partner with NVIDIA and develop AI. And in the process, NVIDIA would supply the top line AI chips to this partnership. And that means to Emirates in the Middle East. And Emirates was going to pay lots and tons of money for that as a partner in the deal. So my question is, how do you feel about that one? Because the United States, I guess there's no export regulations on that, is essentially giving away to a partner. Let's say it's a legitimate partnership. I am not sure, but let's say it is, to an organization which is in the Middle East, which may or may not be our long-term friend, to develop AI. So what we have is a global phenomenon where our family jewels, if you will, are being, exported overseas, and we don't know exactly where they're going to wind up. Your thoughts?
Well, from a geopolitical standpoint, I would first ask really who made that deal? Is it a fact that the deal was made and what were the uh, components of that deal? I think we don't know enough yet. I think that if we were hypothesizing where US manufacturers are going to sell the family jewels, does that mean that the US government is the intermediary? Does that they don't need to be? They certainly don't need to be. NVIDIA does not need the US government to make a trade deal with the UAE and their 7 nations. So I can't answer it. I don't I don't know what it's going to play out like because I don't have enough information to even form a good opinion.
One thing I wanted to mention that in terms of today's, what do you want to call it, chaotic global environment and chaotic domestic environment, one thing to be concerned about is, and you suggested this, is the media, the internet, and all the platforms that we deal with and consume. And AI, as I understand it, can understand human psychology. It can understand media. It can understand advocacy of any position in any ideology. And we know that sort of thing is happening. It's happened out of Russia. It's happened with various issues, political issues and geopolitical issues, where people are not only just hacking in, but they're selling an idea, a point of view. And AI would be, I don't know for sure, but would be very helpful in formulating the language and the touch words for that advocacy. Is this happening? And am I right about thinking that AI could make it much more effective?
AI has already been doing that for several years. They've been doing that. Look, artificial intelligence is a technology, it's a practical application of knowledge. All right. It has all the knowledge. So, how I explain it to people is it's the big brain. It's the brain of a billion people. We cannot outsmart AI. AI has taken all the information that's ever been fed into any book, any video, any movie, any academic paper, any theory, any science paper, medicine, everything. It's got it all. It's all in the brain already. All you need to do is tap it. That's where you have to learn how to prompt correctly. Because in engineering, in medicine, it can out excel. I mean, it just excels over humanity. Um, it can write, it can make video, it can talk, it can clone you, voice and image. It already does these things. You see it all the time. The commercials that you watch, many are AI generated. It's done. So what you need to do is know how to identify if something is AI, and sometimes you can't because it's so good. It's just so very, very good. So it's very hard for any of us to beat the big brain. Now, you do have to check that the answers you get from whatever question you might pose, depending on your prompt, is accurate. And ChatGPT has a disclosure at the bottom of every interaction that says that AI can be wrong. Check your sources.
I totally agree with you. And that's one of the threads of ThinkTech, to try to identify what's true and maybe what's not so true. And to make, sort of a human line in the sand on that. So you have a certain level of confidence over the line and another level of confidence under the line. And you use your critical thinking to define what's real and what's just a reality show. But I was thinking, though, even as you were speaking, Tadia, that if AI can do this, then AI can identify it. In other words, if I have a particular proposition that I am considering whether to accept it or not accept it, whether to treat as true or reality or not, why can't I bring AI into my analysis and ask AI to give me its view of whether this is true?
Absolutely. You should. Because AI is that big brain that knows more than you anyway, and it'll tell you all the answers you need to know based on the prompt you give it. So if you say, I have an idea for ABC to create a widget that will do XYZ, it will tell you whether or not ABC has already been invented, when it was, maybe the patent number, how it's used. It'll give you all the information it has about that. I think it's very good. You can get, it'll put some lawyers out of business. It'll put a lot of people out of business because it can write contracts. It can diagnose MRI scans and other medicinal testing that goes on. You talk about critical thinking. The one problem that I foresee with AI in education is whether or not our children will be learning critical thinking, because if they keep relying on AI, they'll diminish their critical thinking capability. They have to learn how to think, which AI knows how to do. So there's things AI cannot do, but critical thinking and thinking AI can do very, very well.
You talk about AI knowing all there is to know, and it has various sources, and the proprietors, the entrepreneurs, create large language models, which I guess that's very large, and it's loaded with information, and you want to rely on that because it has so much more information than you could ever have yourself. But isn't it possible that one company would say, nice job on your large language model. Mine is bigger than yours. And so isn't there a competition for
Of
who's
course,
got the better large language model? And don't I
sure.
want to go there?
You've got the large LLM, the large language model. You've got natural language processing, NLP. You've got everybody trying to be the first at doing one thing or another: imaging, animation, voice cloning, uh, face cloning. Everybody's going for those things. Eventually, all AI will know how to do all of them. Okay. Then they'll have to distinguish themselves in other ways. I can tell you this: their Claude, for instance, Anthropic Claude, might tell you not to do something if you ask it a certain question. Whereas if you ask Microsoft Copilot the same question, it might tell you how to do something. You can ask it, how should I cut my hair? You can ask 8 or 10 platforms that, and each one will give you a different information. Some of it with a common foundation, suggesting certain hairstyles for certain face shapes, things like that. But I mean, literally, you can ask it the most mundane, uh, tiny things, and you can then pose a paragraph long question.
It strikes me just from what you said, the four corners of this conversation, that I would be better off having access to a number of large language models. And therefore, I could say, I will only be confident if I get a kind of majority vote or a unanimous vote of all these large language models. And so I need to have a bunch of them on my computer. And I will ask the same prompt to a number of them and see what they all say rather than relying on one. It may be very powerful, but it's only one.
I did that, Jay. I asked 4 different AIs, one controversial, 3 very mainstream. What is a just society? It's towards the end of the book. It's in the philosophical section. What is a just society? Some gave, a very short 1 paragraph answer. Others expanded on it. A number of questions in the book is where I have asked at least 2, if not 4, different platforms. So I could then really, I would ask 8, but of the 8, 4 might have differences. So I wanted to show that there were differences in the answers. So people will learn that. They will see that. Actually, anyone who reads my book will be an expert in AI. Really, I give them all the information. There's everything: the basics, technology, what are their capabilities, limitations, risks, ethics, biases, discrimination, society, philosophy, religion, you name it, labor, economy, the future, the history, the past. I mean, there's very little that is left out.
What about suppose I say, look, I want to get ahead of the crowd here. So I'm going to develop an AI program that looks at all of those others, the 4 or the 8, whatever is really authoritative. Then I'm going to have it scan the same prompt for all of those programs, all of those language models. And I'm going to have it give me a summary of what they say. You find summaries now everywhere. You go on Zoom, and Zoom will give you a summary of the whole discussion, in 1 paragraph. It's amazing, and it's right.
AI and Zoom.
Yeah. Well, yes, I agree. But what about making a sort of an overarching AI program that looks at all these various large language models and gives you a summary of what they all say?
Decide your question. Make sure your prompt is exactly what you want to know. And then you can not only ask 8, ask 10, ask whichever ones you want, the same question. And then what you will find is it will give you the answer in text. Or you can ask it to give it narrative as a story or a narrative way of telling you. You can ask it to outline it. You can ask for a workbook. You can ask for a PowerPoint presentation. You can ask for a PDF. You can ask it to draw pictures of it for you. You can ask them to animate it for you, depending on which platform you use. The capabilities are all there, and they're far more than most people know, because not everybody uses the creative platforms. Creative people use them. but other people may not. The engineering platforms are a whole nother animal, the medical programs. So there's so much to learn. I mean, keeping up with it every day is an effort for me. And I don't know that I am keeping up every day with everything that happens in the world of AI. It's too much. It's fast.
On that point, Tadia, there's some platforms that say, oh, that's too new for us. We don't cover anything past, I'm picking this date out of the air, the year 2022. We don't have that. We don't follow today's news. Are we going to see a time, and how soon will it be, when AI covers everything right up to the last minute?
Well, thus far, I've never seen an AI not give an answer or say that they don't have the information. They may say, based on the information I have, da 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 da. I've never had them say, I don't have the latest information. They will tell you what they have as opposed to telling you what they don't have. And again, it depends on your prompt. It's not a human being, although we should talk about anthropomorphic AI. So it's only going to go on the words you use. And if you don't use the correct words, you will not get the answer, the correct answer that you want or that you need or that, you're trying to learn.
Yeah, I'm sure to a moral certainty that your book covers how to create, how to fashion a prompt. Maybe you could summarize how you should go into that question and how you should organize your prompt.
There are so many cheat sheets on Facebook and on the internet about prompting that I would recommend that everybody look for prompts and tools. Let's see. Let me see if I can find you some prompts. I guess it depends on your question. But if you wanted a deep seek prompt, which I have in front of me, you want to sell a property or you want to sell a motorcycle. So you have to give the description of that property or motorcycle to the AI. And then you're going to say, how can I offer this for sale in Detroit, Michigan in winter? And it will give you an answer very specific to your question. There's prompts for education, there's prompts for writers. If you're writing and you want to have it proofread your document, you just put in there, please proofread, and then all of your text. However, again, I recommend, and every time I talk to people, never put in personal information. Never, ever, ever.
Because it's going to go global.
Bingo. You got it. It's going global, and you don't want to divulge personal information. If you invent something, if you write something, don't put your title in there. Don't put your name. Don't put a patent number. Don't put a copyright number. Don't give away your intellectual property, because people do it all the time and it goes into that big brain. And now that big brain is going to filter it, and it's going to come down the large language model and natural language processing, and it's going to spit it out to somebody. So protect your intellectual property.
But Tadia, I use Mid-Journey for graphics.
Good.
And truly an amazing program. It's called Mid-Journey AI.
Yes, I talk about
the latest. Oh, I love it. I love that.
Have you used Poe?
No.
POE.com. I recommend Poe to everyone. I have a lot of, in the book, I not only have the 100 questions, but half of the book probably has pictures in it, images that I have had created by Poe, Midjourney, Canva, Copilot, you name it. I have used all of these platforms to not only answer questions, but to create imagery that reflects what the question is talking about.
What I find interesting about Midjourney, and they probably all have this, is I type in one word. Say I type in democracy, one word. I don't want to see what it comes up with. And it tells me, if you don't like that, you can redo it and see what we come up with next time. And so in a few tries, I get a very good picture that's appropriate for my intended use. However, there's a button on Midjourney that says, show us the prompt that you, Midjourney, generated in order to get this image. And I find that amazing. And you can push that button and see what Midjourney itself wrote as a prompt. So
Yes.
it's not just that they're giving me the image, they're giving me the prompt they use to get the image.
They will give you sentence long prompts. If I say, show me a picture of Jay Fidell on ThinkTech Hawaii, they will do that, but then they will come back to me, and this is on ChatGPT, and they'll all, most of, well, I shouldn't say all, some will do this. It will say, go here, then gives you the website, go here, or make your prompt uh, more specific. I mean, it'll tell you what to do. It'll tell you what to do. You have to figure that when you go to AI, essentially what people have is a question of how does, what is, who is, how can. It's inferred you're asking a question. Or why are you talking to it? Unless you're using it as a mental therapy, as psychological. And that's another subject, totally different subject. But so presume that they know already you're asking those things about democracy. So you can get a long, long exploration of democracy, or you can then narrow it down and say, what was democracy in 1412?
Those are the kinds of questions I like to ask. And if you can see what they're doing, well, that really enhances your own ability to fashion a prompt that will get you there.
People are writing books. You're just using AI. Write me a book about a little girl who saw a windmill. Boom, you get a story. Boom, you get graphics. Boom, you get a characterization. You get whatever you want. It's there because it's the big brain.
That takes me to an overarching question here. So you get somebody, a student, a faculty member, a business person charged with writing something or making a plan or developing something. I mean, it could be anything. It could be architecture, engineering, anything. And then multiply that by 230 million in this country. How does that change society? Because ultimately it must.
Absolutely. I have a whole chapter on how what the impact is on society. Just will it replace humans? How will it impact our economy? I write about labor in the economy and how it will change our lives. I talk about the common myths of AI. How will it impact the legal community? What is the role of AI in productivity? I answer all, well, I didn't. AI answered all of those questions. So if you go to chapter 5, you will learn all about those things. The impact on society is tremendous. We do not yet know how it is going to change our society in the long term. We know that right now it's changing education substantially because educators are challenged by whether or not students are actually learning or just parroting information they grab from AI. There's so many aspects. It will change how we shop, as just as Amazon did. People now shop online, right? That's AI. People uh, don't go to therapists; they go to AI therapy. People can learn how to fix their car or fix something on their own. They just ask AI how to do it, and it'll tell you. It'll tell you anything you want to know.
And we're only a year or two into the use of AI by consumers in general, by the public in general. I don't think I knew much about it, beyond say 2 years or 3 years ago. It moves fast. And
Yeah.
there are people all over the world, doing it. And you know that AI is taking the best chips we can design. It's taking as much power as we can generate. And this is an interesting national issue about generating the power to drive those chips. So it's going somewhere. And the smartest guys, the most high-paid, development guys, are paid a lot of money to take it to the next step. And indeed, there's a societal benefit for everyone and for a society in general. But where are you ready for this, Tadia? Are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down.
Where is it going? In a year, it should be moving algorithmically. In 2 years, it should be geometric, and beyond that, logarithmically. Where's it going?
It's already going. to quantum chips, to quantum computing, which is chip upon chip upon chip with more thinking power and faster thinking power than you've ever seen. Quantum computing. It will, I don't even know that exponential is the word. It will catapult AI into areas we can't yet imagine. It's being developed, it's working to some degree, it's for developers. It's absolutely fascinating, which then leads to how smart can quantum computing be? Can it ever achieve consciousness? What will it do? Where will it go? Will we have interstellar robots at some point? I mean, all of this is very possible and very real and could happen. We can use our imagination.
Are you an AI image? Are you an AI agent? Are you are you a large language model? How do I know that you're an ordinary flesh and blood person, Tadia?
I'm real. I'm real. Really, I'm real. Um, However, on the back cover of my book, I made an AI me. I made an AI headshot of myself, and you have the picture. So that is my AI self, which is clearly younger and clearly
It's a very nice picture, but you look
very
pretty good you look pretty good without that picture too.
But I did that on purpose so people could see. I mean, you can make your own headshot on AI now. You know,
Yeah.
so many people are going to just lose their jobs and their income. So then what do? That's a skill gap. Now I talk about skill gaps in the book too. That's a big one. Anything that can be automated will be automated. You will be able to go to Taco Bell and order your tacos and a machine will be making it, and you won't have people, doing the tortilla and the meat and all that stuff. You Everything will be by AI. If robotics can do it, robotics will do it. Now, who's going to manage the robots? That's where the job will be.
You kind of read my mind. You know the questions I'm going to ask before I ask them. So, okay, what about the economic business effect of all of this? Because right now we have a handful of companies that are emerging and they're more powerful than all the smaller companies, and they're going to consolidate. That's the way it works in capitalism, especially our special kind of capitalism that we have these days, with oligarchs. And it's all going to come together with Elon Musk people, and there's going to be a handful of people controlling all this information, all this AI. Does that make it move faster? Is that good for us? Not so good for us? What kind of government regulation should we have? I'm not saying we will have it, but should we have as a normative matter? And where is this taking us? Because it's so attractive, ultimately so profitable, that we really need to look down the road and figure out what are the milestones.
I can tell you this. The IMF is predicting that 40% of jobs around the world will be replaced. 40%. Now, I also studied, besides the IMF, I studied what other economic pundits are saying will happen. We'll be having inflation because the economy will shift. Our economy will change. The impact on labor and economy is going to be humongous. And people need to get to know AI now and get to understand what to do with AI and how strategies will work for them to be competitive in the marketplace. That's it. So if you can go into AI, research, development, or education, that's what you want to do, because there will be disparities. Automation is going to affect anyone and everyone, even data entry. Any data-driven task that's repetitive will be replaced by AI, which will make it more productive and more efficient. That's for sure.
You mentioned earlier that the law itself may be replaced by AI. And I have been thinking about that for my entire career. I've been thinking about a little black box, maybe 6 inches by 6 inches, that sits on top of the Rocky Mountains somewhere. And you can ask it any question, any conflict, any contention, any lawsuit, and you put them in the box, and outcomes the answer. And it's fair and it's based on human experience with human sensibilities and human ethics. And you don't need a legal industry for that. And I
Well,
guess the question I put to you is, what about 2001: A Space Odyssey? A Space Odyssey. I can't do that for you, Hal. Will the box be able to say no?
Well, now you're going into consciousness, into AI consciousness and robotic consciousness. We were talking about labor and economy, and I just want to say that the soft skills gap is real. If you don't know what it is, ask AI and make sure you're prepared to meet the demands, because businesses will benefit. They'll be more productive, they'll be more efficient because they're not having to pay people. They'll invest in a robot, amortize that expense of the robot. It'll be cheaper for them. That's the reality. Now, what you're talking about, Hal, and I do talk about 2001 in the book, because that, I think, is everybody's fear. We imagine that Hal is just going to say bye-bye, click, and we don't know. I can, in my mind's eye, I can imagine robots being built, not in my lifetime, that will be empathetic, just like AI is empathetic now, and in some cases almost sycophantic, to try and please you. They will look human, walk human, maybe with a jolt or a gait, but I think that they will become for people, like, instead of a blow up doll, you'll have your AI wife or your AI husband that can take out the garbage, that can lift the heavy things, that can cook, that can do what is required. I do see that in the future. I do see that. The overarching question, I think what most people want to know is, will AI robots replace human beings? And I don't think so. I certainly hope not. I don't believe that will happen. Will robots revolt against humans? Possibly. Will they really attain consciousness? I don't think so. I think you can clone a lot, but I don't think that we can create a new species, which in a way we are, but I don't think it will be a real species that can on its own create itself.
Some thoughts on that, Tadia. If I walk down Bishop Street here in Honolulu and look at people, and how, their sensibilities, their intelligence, their training, their education, their way of looking at the world, in many cases, I prefer an AI bot than the people that I meet on Bishop Street. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. So if you're looking for consciousness, you may find a lot of people in the world today who are not conscious anyway. And the AI bot may be much more conscious than they are. And of course, we have trouble defining consciousness. There's so many elements in consciousness. But frankly, I think right now, today, you could make an AI bot that would be more conscious than some of the people I run into in my, I'm sorry to say this. And in fact, I think you could make an AI bot that would be much more conscious than most of Congress. Remember Congress? So I don't think there's that much of a disparity, between the AI bot and some of the people that we know. Your thoughts?
I would say we need to widen our social circle. And there's a difference between a bot and a robot. A bot is just a bot online that will ask you questions and answer your questions. A robot, as in a walking, talking, humanistic replication. I don't know what to tell you. A lot of humans are not conscious. And I just think that's why education, not just AI education, but basic education, is very important. Some of the most conscious people I know are the indigenous peoples of the world. Okay. I think the more Western we become and the more removed we become from that which is natural and that which is spiritual, is where we lose our consciousness. When we become over material, which certainly has happened in the Western world, we lose some of that consciousness because then we're motivated by greed as opposed to being motivated by knowledge or wisdom or how to make the world better for everyone and not just ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. It's absolutely true. But I offer you the possibility of an AI bot or robot that doesn't have greed, that doesn't have negative emotions. Does the human condition need those things? At the same time, can't we train it to love? Can't we train it to be kind and sensitive and responsive? It seems to me that we're not that far from creating a kind of ideal human that doesn't have all the negative implications of a biological human. Answer?
Yes, that could probably happen. Yes. Um, but I think love cannot be quantified in a robot. That's just my feelings. And I thought a lot about this, especially because of AI and education. You have a little child. Are you going to let a robot nanny take care of your child? And when that child falls and cuts its knee and is bleeding or crying, the human instinct is for other humans. We are hardwired for human socialization. And I don't think robots can ever duplicate that. Now, it can come close to being a good talking partner. It can come close to be a good listener and a good feedback giver, but I don't believe it will ever love. And there's a difference between love and loyalty. Loyalty is not love.
Oh, yes, we know that from today's current events.
So you have to really then think about what is consciousness, because consciousness, a component of consciousness is love, is emotions. And I don't think robots will ever possess emotions. They don't have a life experience that is natural or human. They will have a life experience as a robot, but they will never be a baby robot. They will never be a pregnant robot. Well, who knows? Maybe they will, but I don't think so. They won't be on an elderly robot losing facilities and know it. And that's where the consciousness piece kicks in. That's where the love piece kicks in. That's where what is being human. And I ask that in the book. I talk about this in the book. What is consciousness? What is love? How deep can an algorithm really develop to make something that's technological into a human? Technology is not a human. And we have to remember that.
You know, one of the things that's happening these days is federal grants for research are being terminated.
I know.
And, you wonder what the implication is long term if you put all these scientists and creative people out of work. So they're not doing it anymore. And you wonder if AI could step in on that. So this is a related question. Could AI be as creative as a brilliant scientist? And my presumptive answer is yes. What's your answer?
I think it can probably outthink a brilliant scientist, and it has. And the thing is, we can now, and we have to look to South Korea, because South Korea has taken AI into medicine and research and science, where we now will be so far behind the eight ball. But South Korea is already doing things we have not even begun. South Korea is already modifying cancer cells and making them healthy again. They've proven it in mice. Next will be humans. South Korea has done so much. Asia, China, Japan, they have all done so much. They're leaping forward while we're leaping backwards. Hopefully that will not continue. Hopefully America will become truly what its people want it to be, which is not to go back to 1950. I don't believe that robots are ever going to rule the earth. There's books written about that. I don't believe that, although AI can tell you the meaning of life, I don't think AI knows the meaning of life, of its life, other than being a tool and a resource and a service provider to the human race.
Clearly, from the four corners of this discussion, AI is global and will continue to be global because everyone in the world, everyone who has the slightest amount of ambition, everyone who has the slightest amount of training knows that AI is in the future of the species. And so my question to you is, it's important that the U.S. keep up with this, but you look across the oceans in both directions and you find there's a lot of people keeping up with it. There's a lot of people learning perhaps as much or more as the people in the U.S. in AI. Where do you see the future of the U.S. initiative on AI, as opposed to other places in the world, China, South Korea, Europe, who knows where? And how does the U.S. maintain some kind of hegemony in maintaining its leadership role?
Are you talking about regulations? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the drive to learn more, do more, produce more, and disseminate more.
I think that we're certainly not going to stop doing that. That's for sure. I think we will. Let me put it like this. I don't think we will lead the world in regulations or in being the model. I think that the UK has already claimed that. I think that Japan is doing much more than we have. Even India and Brazil, these nations already have regulatory laws, and we have to catch up. But the laws really have to be global. Since we don't have an international court, really, or an international tribunal, which I hope one day we will have, we don't really have international law as much as people say the words. It really doesn't function unless it's in a heinous genocidal situation with The Hague. But in terms of regulating AI, that's a big enchilada full of ethics questions. It's all about ethics in AI. It's regulation. And until everyone gets on board with agreeing that ethics are the same everywhere, it's not going to happen.
Last question, Tadia. I hate to come to the end of it, because I find you completely faithful to your notion of answering every question. You do answer every question. I really appreciate that. Not everybody can do that. My last question to you is this. So here I am, here we are, ThinkTech, and we, by definition of what we do, we have to have a fair amount of technology. Last time I counted the number of consumer and technological software programs that we use, it was something like 80 for a little company, a little nonprofit like us. And they're all telling us now that they have AI and that they're better than they used to be, arguably more expensive too. Than they used to be. And I mean, I see that as a trend. Everybody's going to try to sell the fact that they have AI somewhere in their functionality, and therefore they're entitled to a more luxurious subscription cost. But query, how do I tell whether that's real or not? How do I tell whether they really have AI or don't have AI? Is it really helping me, or is it just a sales gimmick? And that goes to the ultimate question of what should I have in my mind going forward about how I identify AI products, how I bring them into my daily life and business.
You're already using AI. You have a phone, you have a computer, you have an iPad, AI is in everything. I mean, you're already using it. Do you need to know whether or not your refrigerator has a computer chip that is telling the manufacturer how many times you open and close your refrigerator and for how long the duration is? Do you really need to know that your microwave is feeding back the same information to that manufacturer, or that your TV has a chip in it? That's all manufacturers are using AI in manufacturing. Now, if you're talking about AI deepfakes, that's another issue. You have to be very careful. Sometimes, if you look at me now and I'm real and I'm on camera, you can see flaws in my skin. You can see fine things in my necklace. You can see detail. Sometimes AI doesn't have detail. If the AI is a moving image or a video, you will see that not all humans are running like a natural human. They might jolt. There's little ways you can look and see. And then sometimes it's just so good you won't know. So the question is, do you really need to know every time AI is being used? Because it's everywhere. It's permeated everything. I can tell you that right now. The deal is you need to be cautious and clear that you don't perpetrate any AI fakes, that you understand to question things. There's always another source you can go to confirm information. If AI gives you an answer and it sounds a little odd, look for another resource. Sometimes it's just all wrong. Sometimes it's you knowing by being familiar with how AI may state its language. Microsoft Copilot will talk differently than Claude. Claude will talk differently than ChatGPT. DeepSeek will speak very differently. It's from China and it's wonderful, but it speaks differently. And Grok, please, nobody use Grok. Please. I don't say that because it's Elon Musk's AI platform. I say it because there's no censors, there's no filters. It'll give you information not only from the big brain, but from X, from Twitter, from people's opinions. There's absolutely no way to know you're getting factual information on Grok. Please don't use it for your own benefit. ChatGPT is my favorite. I also use, I use all of them. And I don't pay for all of them, but I'll use all of them. And if I need to pay for something specific, because I make movies, I make videos, because I'm a writer, because this or that or the other, okay, I'll pay for it. It's giving me what I need for a specific purpose. But again, I use AI for my benefit. I don't use AI for any other purpose. That's what it's done. It's here. It's a tool. It's a resource and a tool to serve humanity. Let it serve you well, but get to know it because it'll be your friend.
Yeah, well, we thought that COVID changed our quality of life, our quality of engagement, interaction with other people.
Sure
But
did.
clearly, AI is going to do the same on steroids. And we really have to appreciate that and get used to it. For now, Tadia, we're going to have to leave it there. I wish we could spend much more time together, and hopefully we will. Thank you so much to our guest, Tadia Rice. I'm Jay Fidell, host of ThinkTech Tech Talks, and we've been discussing a book, My Conversations with AI, 100 questions, and I have 1,000 more for you. I hope we can get together. Thanks to our viewers for watching. We'll see you again for the next one. Aloha, Tadia.
It's been a delight, Jay. Mahalo nui loa.